On the 26th of October 2023, the Economic Crime and Corporate Transparency Act was passed. The Act gives Companies House the power to play a more significant role in tackling economic crime and supporting economic growth. Over time, the measures will lead to improved transparency and more accurate and trusted information on our registers. There'll be new responsibilities for all new and existing company directors, people with significant control of a company, PSCs, and anyone who files on behalf of a company. The legislation brings Companies House and our legal framework into line with modern-day challenges. The first set of changes will be introduced on the 4th of March 2024. As part of the Act, the Companies Registrars for England and Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland will now have new objectives and new and enhanced powers. The objectives give us a clear set of priorities, and our new powers provide the tools we need to deliver our future activities. Objective 1 is to ensure that any person who is required to deliver a document to the registrar does so, and that the requirements for proper delivery are complied with. Objective 2 is to ensure that information contained in the register is accurate and that the register contains everything it ought to contain. Objective 3 is to ensure that records kept by the registrar do not create a false or misleading impression to members of the public. And Objective 4 is to prevent companies and others from A. carrying out unlawful activities, or B. facilitating the carrying out by others of unlawful activities. We will go from being an organisation that accepts information in good faith to one that will actively scrutinise the information provided to us by companies. We'll be able to reject information that seems incorrect, or remove it entirely. We'll also be able to challenge any inconsistencies between new and existing information on the register. When we identify irregularities, we'll contact companies to help us resolve them before we take any further action. What do these changes mean for you? Since the Economic Crime and Corporate Transparency Act became law, we've been getting ready to introduce the measures brought in by the Act. This is a large and complex set of changes which will be introduced in phases over the coming years. Some of them will mean we need to change our systems and processes, and will also need additional secondary legislation to bring them into force. We know companies, intermediaries and other stakeholders want to make sure they're ready for the changes so that they can take action at the right time. Anyone thinking about incorporating a company should also be keeping a keen eye on developments. So what do these early changes mean for you? From the 4th of March 2024, there'll be new rules for registered office addresses, which mean companies must have an appropriate address as their registered office at all times. An appropriate address is one where any documents sent to the registered office should be expected to come to the attention of a person acting on behalf of the company, and any documents sent to that address can be recorded by an acknowledgement of delivery. These changes mean you'll not be able to use a PO box as your registered office address from the 4th of March 2024. You can still use a third-party agent's address if they meet the conditions for an appropriate address. If you're currently using a PO box as your registered office address, you'll need to change it by the 4th of March. You can change your company's registered office address online. You'll need your company's authentication code. Companies that do not have an appropriate registered office address could be struck off the register. When we identify an inappropriate registered office address, we'll change it to a default address held at Companies House. The company must then provide an appropriate address with evidence of a link to that address within 28 days. If we do not receive this evidence, we'll start the process to strike the company off the register. From the 4th of March 2024, there'll be a new requirement for all companies to give Companies House a registered email address. this email address will not be published on the public register. From the 4th of March, new companies will need to give a registered email address when they incorporate. Existing companies will need to give a registered email address when they file their next confirmation statement, if their statement date is from the 5th of March 2024. Our online services will prompt you to supply a registered email address when you file your next eligible confirmation statement. We'll use this email address to communicate with you about your company, so it's important that you choose an appropriate email address. You can register the same email address for more than one company. You'll be able to change your registered email address through our new Update a Registered Email Address service. You'll need to be signed in and authenticated to do this. Companies will have a duty to maintain an appropriate registered email address in the same way as their registered office address. Any company that does not do this will be committing an offence. When you incorporate a company from the 4th of March 2024, the subscribers, also known as shareholders, will need to confirm they're forming the company for a lawful purpose. You'll also need to confirm the company's intended future activities are lawful on the confirmation statement. The intention of these statements is to make it clear that all companies on the register, new and existing, have a duty to operate in a lawful way. We may take action against your company if we receive information that confirms you're not operating lawfully. We will not accept your documents if these statements have not been confirmed. Existing companies will need to make their lawful purpose statement when they file their next confirmation statement with a statement date from the 5th of March 2024. Our online services will prompt you to do this when you file your next eligible confirmation statement. From the 4th of March 2024, our registrars will have greater powers to query and challenge information that appears to be incorrect or inconsistent with information we hold. In some cases, we'll also be able to remove information more quickly if that information is inaccurate, incomplete, false, or fraudulent. There'll be stronger checks on company names which may give a false or misleading impression to the public. This will help us improve the accuracy and quality of data we hold, and help tackle the misuse of company names. We'll also use annotations on the register to let users know about potential issues with the information that's been supplied to us. We'll also be taking steps to clean up the register using data matching to identify and remove inaccurate information. We'll act if these changes are not complied with. There'll be serious consequences if a company does not respond to a formal request from Companies House for more information. This could include a financial penalty, an annotation on the company's record, or prosecution. We'll also be using our new powers to analyse and disclose information for the purposes of crime prevention or detection. Our fees are increasing on the 1st of May 2024. This is because our fees will fund the cost of the new powers and the wider package of reforms in the Economic Crime and Corporate Transparency Act. Increasing our fees will enable us to operate effectively within our new powers and deliver outcomes, making sure we continue to recover the costs of the services we deliver. Companies House fees are set on a cost recovery basis. This means our fees must cover the cost of the services we deliver. We do not make a profit on our fees. For a full list of the new Companies House fees, visit our Changes to UK Company Law website. Longer-term changes to be introduced over the next few years include the introduction of compulsory identity verification for anyone setting up, running, owning or controlling a company in the UK. Streamlining the accounts filing options for small and micro-entity companies. And transitioning towards filing accounts by software only. There will also be changes to make limited partnership information more accessible and transparent. and enhancement of the protection regime for personal information provided to Companies House to protect individuals from fraud and other harms. Our job is to make it easy for people to do business and to register their information with Companies House. But we've known for some time that UK companies have been misused by criminals to commit fraud, money laundering and other forms of economic crime. We'll be working more proactively, taking unprecedented steps to crack down on fraudulent activities and prevent further abuse of the register. We'll also be able to help victims of fraud more quickly. Our aim is to improve the quality and reliability of our data, which in turn will hugely increase the value of the register for businesses across the UK and beyond. Cleaning up the register will not happen overnight. We'll start gradually by using data matching to identify and remove information we know to be incorrect, such as default addresses. We'll do more and more as our capacity grows. These changes will enable us to improve transparency over UK companies and other legal entities, ensuring that companies on the UK register are run responsibly, transparently, and with accountability.